Happy Sunday, y'all. It's Hamida, and I figured I'd bring y'all out here into the garden. My landscaper was just here um, cutting, and so there's a lot of blown cut grass everywhere. So this is what a midsummer garden looks like in Middle Georgia, um, for me anyway. So there's a lot of humidity, and they're really long hot days. I think the sun goes down at about 9 p.m. It comes up at like 6 a.m. So extremely long days, very, very hot. We go between flash flood raining and drought. So it's a lot of inconsistency, and it's really hard to temper the watering of your garden because of that. Um, but you know, for me, my kids go back to school the end of July. They go back the 31st or the 1st of August, something like that. I guess I need to figure that out. But around early August, and I go back to school the first week. So classes start for me the second week of August, but all faculty, we're required to be back that week before for all of the long meetings and things that we need to have. This is the watermelon patch over here that I'm standing in. So I really have got to get this together because look at this jumbo thing here. Woo! There's two of them. One, two. Jumbo watermelons. I really have got to get this together because in a couple weeks, I am really just not going to have time to be out here every day. And I really have to transition into the fall garden. So I'll just give you guys a little tour. My hand is shaky. Um, so pardon all the shaking of the camera. But so this is my corn here. This is the last bit of the glass gem corn that I posted about on my Facebook page a few days ago. And so this is the heirloom corn, and it's called a field corn. So basically, it's not a sweet corn, so you can't boil it up and eat it, like corn on a cob. But what you can do, I use it in a number of different ways. So for one, let's see if we can find an ear I haven't cut yet. So for one, this ear here, I would take the silk. The silk I'm going to use for corn silk tea, which is great for a variety of uses. I predominantly use it for inflammation to help with my arthritis, but it's useful for many different things. The actual husk of the corn, I am going to use that for tamales, and so we'll dry those out in the oven and use that for tamales. And then the corn, the kernels, will be dried, and then the kernels will be cut off the cob, and then I will take those kernels and grind them down into both part grits and part cornmeal. So I'll do a coarse grind for grits, and I'll do a fine grind for cornmeal. And then the actual cob itself, I will use that to make corn cob jelly, which is something that we really enjoy. It actually tastes very similar to like a wildflower honey. So we love that. And so essentially the entire part of the corn is used. I don't eat corn just because I'm keto, so I don't eat, any corn. It's really high in carbs. My kids do love corn, but not enough for me to grow, a bunch of it. So I already harvested most of this. I noticed that some animal was getting in here and ripping my corn off, off of the branches and literally eating the corn. And I think this is like something that they left behind. So I said, okay, Hamida, if you want it, you better get to it, because that's the way it is with growing. If you don't hop on it, once it's ready to go, nature's going to take its course and some other organism is going to come around and eat it for you. So this is my cantaloupe bed. There's cantaloupe planted on this side, along with, of course, some marigolds that were planted by seed in February, and they're massive and they're beautiful. And even though all of my plants are dying back for the most part, the marigolds just keep the beauty going in the garden. So the bees are out here pollinating, so I don't want to disrespect them or they will disrespect me. But I'm going to show you here one, where are you? See if we can find you. One cantaloupe. I don't know if you can see that. Let's try and get that. Here we go. I'm leaving. So yeah, so the bee said, ma'am, this is not your hour. So yeah, so there is one there, and then there is another cantaloupe there. And then on this side is some sweet pea. And I've only gotten a few of those. So, and I really didn't, that was a late plant, and I didn't really invest too much time and energy into those. But then it was like 95 degree days all the time, and I was done with it. So this is my small sweet potato bed, and it's still covered in netting because I have Peter the rabbit who comes through, and he eats everything that has just been planted. And I planted these maybe a month ago, which was really, really late in the season, because I wasn't sure if I was going to plant any more root vegetables after the mice went through my Yukon Gold like it was a McDonald's potato chip party, or McDonald's French fry party rather. So since then, I wasn't sure if I wanted to waste my time growing any more root vegetables until I could put together a secure bed, with some, some mesh underneath. Look at these butterflies. Look, we have a ton of them, and they're so endangered. But they live here. We have so many of those monarchs. Okay, so the sweet potatoes, I'm just going to leave this covered for a little while. They are really slow growing, and part of that is this bed is not irrigated. And so it sort of gets water when it rains. So again, another not really high investment, because I don't have a lot of hope for getting potatoes out of there. But if we get any, that'd be great. So along here is these are all of my green beans. This is the second crop of green beans, and I might get a little bit, but to be honest with you, the rabbits, they love it. I had it covered for a really long time, but you can only keep it covered for so long, because if there's no pollination, there's no green beans. So, I tried. We have a ton of green beans from the first crop, and those are in the freezer already. So, we'll see. So this is one of my tomato beds, I'm sorry. This is one of my tomato beds here that had some super sweet and some better boy. And as you can see, it's really bad, like really bad shape. Just a few tomatoes hanging on. Those that are orange or red will come off today. And I'm pretty much canning jar by jar. So I am canning as things ripen. And it's the same thing with this one. Really, really, all of that blight. It's just so humid. You know, so there's a ton of blight. It fought back. We fought the Japanese beetle for a while. We finally got rid of them. And then the spittle bugs came. And we've pretty much gotten rid of most of those. But the blight from the humidity, you know, it's just a lot. So this kind of climbing up here. If I find any suckers that might be good on here, then what I'll do is I'll cut those suckers off, and then I'm going to clear this bed out, and I'll plant those suckers in this bed so that come fall we'll have more tomatoes, because we can grow tomatoes here. We'll be getting tomatoes until November. All right, so this is a watermelon my son grew in the middle of the walkway, as you can see, right in the middle of the walkway. And the first fruit it had on it, I made a mistake and broke and didn't tell him. I just hid it because he would be devastated. But then another one grew, and you see that one back there? So we have another big one coming right back there. So thank God, because he'd be like, where's my watermelon, Mom? So we're going to let that keep growing along with the rest of the melons. We have a few of them growing. And this is another tomato bed. You see, just really just done. And we pick them, pick every day. So they slowly, you know, the ones that are left are ripening. Not really seeing that many more flowers developing. So we're just going to clear this out and get it ready for something for the fall. All right, so this is my stackable that has lots of different medicinal and culinary herbs in it. One of the biggest problems with this stackable is the dryness. It's just really hard to keep everything moist, and I've heard that from other people who've had it. I thought I'd give it a shot. I'm not sure how I'm gonna do it. If you have any suggestions in the future, but this is echinacea. But I don't know. This is chamomile up here. Some chamomile. And then I didn't properly label these, so many of the labels got wet and I can't read what it is anymore. So not very helpful there, right? Okay, so let's keep going down here. It's starting to look like a jungle, eh? My zucchini plant is over and done with. But you know, with zucchini, you never know. There might be more growing. I don't see anything, but this one is laying on its side and it still has a zucchini down here. Let's see if we can get, yeah, we still have quite a bit of a zucchini there. So I think I'll leave it for a little while. This is the bed it's coming out of. Again, just the weeds, the pests have taken over the sunflowers, which is part of why the sunflowers were there as a trap crop. But it's no longer trapping because they're dead now. And so all of this really needs to be pulled. So over here, more tomatoes here. And then this is my cucumber, and I'm pretty sure that I have a beetle because some of the cucumbers I've pulled in the last couple days or so have had some damage. So, you know, looking at that, you know, this is definitely gonna have to come out. That's done, which is fine. We have plenty of pickles that we put up. And then in the middle here are some of my Roselle tomatoes here. Some, you know, are good, and some are still green. At some point, you get to the point where it's like, whether they're green or not, you have to pull them because it's just not a healthy environment anymore. All right, so this is my pepper row. And I have some bell pepper and some sweet banana pepper, some cayenne, and lots of bell pepper. I think I was a victim of the pepper naming mix-up because I definitely planted more bell peppers than sweet banana peppers, but I seem to have more sweet banana pepper plants. We have some Italian peppers, and then let's just keep going around here. We have some red bell pepper, habaneros, and we have some shishito, but I don't see where any of them are fruiting right now. Actually, this is a shishito. So the peppers are steadily producing, and I'm using them a lot in my tomato sauces, ketchups, barbecue sauce, steak sauce, and so on and so forth, and in any dishes that I am making. So so that is an ongoing thing. So this is my summer collard green bed, and look here, we have a moth trapped under my netting, right? So even when you cover, it's not 100% because they can still find a way in there, and they will, because they just want to lay their babies on your vegetables. So I'm gonna have to get that out of there. But this is my summer collard green bed. And again, lots of marigolds. Here I have some green beans. Hopefully we'll get some here. I just planted some to sort of spread out the green beans through the garden. I have different herbs in pots through the middle of the garden. And then this is my strawberry beds here. And also in here are some marigolds. Some are just doing really well, just have gotten really huge. My strawberries, you know, of course, have stopped producing, but they are definitely getting hit by this heat. And so I have a black tulle covering them to just give them a little bit of a reprieve from the sun. So let's go ahead and go over to the winter garden, because the winter garden is pretty much on pause, you know, my fall and winter garden, until, you know, the weather starts to cool, and then they'll pick back up. So this was all planted last September. okay, when I first established this garden here. And so what I've done is cut back all the leaves on the collards, the Brussels, the kale, which looks horrible, the curly kale, the mustard. There is a squash just put in here because I needed the space. Celery here. I just pulled all that cabbage out of there. There's more squash here. Some zinnias that I planted. There's some lettuce popping up. There is a okra in here, which ironically my okra's been really slow producing this year. But like, look, now I see this, and those are too big to harvest. So, more zinnias, more marigolds, just beautiful marigolds. I will always grow marigolds from seed. Now that I know how beautiful that they get in the garden when you plant them that way, as opposed to buying the little pugs. So this particular side of this winter garden here, this is all of my brassicas on this side. And so the reason that I do this is because if you look at the plant, the size of the stem is those roots are just massive. And so that is a really well-established plant. And so instead of replanting the collards or the kale each fall, I just keep the plant alive. And you know, during the really high heat days, I may take this black shade cloth and put it over it. Now the bugs are gonna get to it. You know, as you see, there's some blight. There, you know, it may have different issues that'll go on with it. You try and manage them without stressing yourself out, but you're also able to just keep the plant going. You're not going to harvest anything. You're not going to be able to harvest anything because it's all going to, you know, it's all going to be not edible, you know, but it's still alive. It's still alive. Even look at this, these baby cabbages, you know, I have left those there for a while, and they grow a little bit and they get a little, you know, destroyed, and then they take a rest, but they come back. And so the same with this, right? So you can see here, the birds, they come. The birds love to come. We have these little red robins, they come and they chew on this. Then of course we have all the caterpillars and the moths that come and lay their eggs and all that stuff. So they, you know, they're not spared. But what will happen is in the fall, many of those pests are going to go away. And when they do, your plants are going to be able to breathe and recover. So I'm not sure why my landscaper didn't weed this little patch here, but we have another zucchini over here, and the zucchinis over here tend to get super duper large because I forget about them over here. This is another marigold. These marigolds must be 4 feet high. Look at that zinnia. That monarch on the zinnia plant. Is that not beautiful? No. So this is where I had my potato patch. And the voles or the mice or both, they found it and they ate it. Hey girls. All right. So that is where we are right now with both gardens. Over here in the orchard, we have my fig tree that is massive, and so the figs are doing really well. We have a ton of them on this tree. This tree's probably 10 feet tall. And, you know, of course, I'm in Georgia. So Georgia, we lost our peach crop. So we don't have any peaches. We didn't get any. We had some starting to grow, but we lost them around February. This is my pear. Same thing. No fruit this year. This is one pear. This is one of my peach trees that is very poorly pruned. What happened is the deer came and ate that branch off, and so it winded up growing lopsided. I don't know how long this is going to actually work, because once peaches get on there, well, then it's going to be a really heavy weight, and I think it's just going to snap. But wishful thinking, hopefully it won't. This is another young pear, very young. This looks like somebody's building a nest in the tree. Oh my goodness. Either that or my landscaper kicked up something into it. This is one of my young apples. Oh, apples are not easy. This is a Cortland apple. I planted this last year. So we'll see how that does. And then here is another apple. This one has to be cut. How tall that is about 12 feet high. Needs to be cut down. So I'll do that once it goes dormant. This had apples on it for the season, and then when we had that cold freeze, it lost its apples. So for those of you who don't believe in climate change, give me an explanation. So this is another apple. This one's got to be, I don't know, 15 feet tall. And, you know, they were getting hit hard by the Japanese beetles, but they sort of went away. Right now, what I'm trying to do is just keep everything alive. You know, we're in just survival mode, so that next year we can see what's better. This is another peach tree that I have, and lots and lots of leaves. I love it, because, you know, really, you know, you get lots of leaves, you know, there's potential for fruit. And I think next year is going to be our year to get a nice crop of peaches. I need to plant more trees, because one or two trees is just not going to cut it. But we do have some really nice leaves on here, so I am happy about that. All right, so that is the orchard. This was an old orange tree that died, has to be pulled out. I had a ton of citrus in here. I had grapefruit and lemon and orange, and it all died Christmas of last year when we hit 11 degrees here in Georgia. That's not something that we're used to. All right, thanks for hanging out with me at Sweet Valley Farmstead.